Hi there, welcome back to Mudwalkers. My name is Chris. As you may recall, the last video was a part 1 and this is the part 2. So we're going to finish talking today about doing hard things. Let's get straight into it. Like I said, that summer in Nicaragua was deeply formative for me. And one of the other ways that it was formative was that I had never ever gone for months and months of my life without air conditioning. And that was very different. It was fairly primitive living compared to the way that we live here in America for those 3 months. Now granted, we had some creature comforts. There were fans and we had Wi-Fi and those sorts of things, but not air conditioning. By no means did we have air conditioning. And we didn't have the usual forms of entertainment, no TV, no internet to speak of. So yeah, I gotta correct that. We didn't actually have Wi-Fi because I ended up reading the Bible on the computer because we didn't have Wi-Fi. So correction there, no Wi-Fi. No usual entertainment and no complete safety. There was a, I think it was a 55-acre farm we were staying on. Gosh, I forget how many acres it was. It was big. It was big compared to, say, a neighborhood home. It was many, many acres. It was at least 20 or 30. It was big. And they had these 2 guys that would swap out as the guard of the farm. And it was 2 men, each of them about this tall. And one guy would do a shift for a day, and the next guy would do the shift for the next day. I think they were 24-hour shifts. I think. Anyway, but he was armed with a 12-gauge shotgun with a few shells in it, and he was tasked with the entire property. No cameras, no alarm system, no security system, and barely had a fence around it. And I'm not even talking about like a wood fence or a barbed wire fence. Not barbed wire, not razor wire, not wood, not even chain link. It was, I think, just barbed wire. And a bunch of parts of the fence were probably down all the time. So there was never any complete safety. Even when we were on the missionary compound, that we were never completely safe in like by American standards, we were never completely safe. But that was especially true when we went into the city. My mom and I would take the missionary compound truck. We were basically compound sitting, house sitting for the missionaries. So we would take the truck and drive into the city and resupply on things, et cetera, et cetera. And when we were in the marketplace in there, we were the only Americans. And Americans can often be serious targets for criminals in countries like Nicaragua. And it was my job as the male, to watch and protect my mom. I'm about 6'2". I don't know what that is in meters. Maybe I'll put it here. But my mom is only about this tall. I'm much larger than she is. And most Nicaraguans are shorter than she is. Most Nicaraguans are, less than shoulder height to me, if I recall correctly. So I'm very big. So I was, hopefully imposing at least. But that was a really, really hard thing for me to step into that kind of protector role. And that was also very formative for me. It was something that terrified me. But it taught me something about myself, and it gave me a lot of confidence, protecting her and filling that role. It helped me mature a lot. I grew up a lot on that trip. And the instance of this that really symbolizes the entire protector spirit of the trip was one day we were on the compound, and there was a bit of a pest problem. In Nicaragua, the pest problem we had on the compound wasn't the usual things you think of in America. It was iguanas. There were iguanas in the buildings, infesting the buildings. So one day my mom was in one of the buildings with one of the ladies that worked there, and they let out these blood-curdling screams of terror. And I didn't know it was an iguana because I'm, 100 yards away. Here I am, a 17-year-old kid in a muscle shirt and tennis shoes, and bare hands. And the image that popped into my head when I heard those screams was a shirtless, third world man with a machete chasing my mom. But when I heard those screams, I immediately spun around and sprinted toward the sounds of distress. I may not have ever run that fast in my life up to that point. And I remember thinking the entire time two things. If I don't do this, Dad will kill me. If I don't protect Mom, Dad will kill me. And number two, I'm probably about to die. I didn't slow down. I ran as fast as I could without falling over. But I distinctly remember believing that it was very probable that I was going to die in this fight. Turns out it wasn't an intruder, it was an iguana. And I chopped his head off and we ate him. We fried him up, we cooked him, okay? I'm not that I'm not that primitive. We did fry him up in a pan. We cooked him. It was good. It was kind of like, frog legs with a little chicken flavor in there somewhere. But that was a deeply formative experience. Running into a situation to try and save someone's life, a situation that I was pretty sure was going to end with me dead. It taught me a lot about myself, a lot about life. It gave me a fresh perspective on protecting other people. I'm very grateful for that experience. All right, now, this is fun. High intensity interval training. I've done bodybuilding training. I've done a little bit of strongman, not a whole lot, obviously, but a little bit of bodybuilding, a little bit of strongman, a little bit of, what was that other thing called? Powerlifting. But the thing that I have loved the most, and MovNat, I love MovNat. I would love to get certified in MovNat if I ever have the money and time for it. But the thing that I love the most right now in terms of exercise is high intensity interval training. I get incredible results from it very, very quickly. Apparently it's a body type thing, but high intensity interval training is great for me for, scraping off a couple extra pounds every now and then and getting great muscle tone and explosiveness in movement. Now granted, high intensity interval training for cardio doesn't have everything. I still need to do a bunch of, strength training, etc., which I'm not doing enough of right now, obviously, because I'm sleep deprived because of the baby, but I digress. Anyway, one of the things with high intensity interval training is it pushes you to your limits. It's supposed to anyway. You're supposed to work out really, really intensely. Like it says at the beginning, high intensity interval training. It pushes you to your physical limit. And I do 4 rounds, and if I am not miserable at the end, by the end of each round, then I know I'm doing something wrong. Because at the end of each round, I'm supposed to be physically miserable. And I know that the workout is going well when I get to the beginning of the 3rd or 4th round, 3rd or 4th interval, I guess, and I don't want to do it. I just want to pick up and go home. I want to lie down. I don't feel good anymore. Sometimes I'm a bit nauseous. And but something that my brother told me, and he's always been much better at consistency and fitness than I am. He knows a lot more about it than I do. He's great. But one of the things that he said was when you get to that point, when you get to that wall, that's where the workout really starts. And so whenever I get to a certain point in high intensity interval training and I feel like quitting, I know that that's the most important time for me to keep going. So I always do 4 rounds, 4 intervals, even if I feel like quitting at the second one. Now, if I'm having an extremely off day and I think I'm going to hurt myself if I continue, obviously I'm going to cut it short for safety reasons. But if I'm feeling okay, except for the exercise, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be fine, I'll go ahead and do all the rounds. And doing something hard like that, something difficult, has done something for me that I went over recently with my 8-year-old son. I told him that we exercise for 2 reasons. We exercise to have a strong body, but we also exercise to have a strong spirit. And high intensity interval training has affected me psychologically. It's not just helping me tone my muscles, it's also helping me tone my mind, my spirit, my immaterial self. So I highly recommend exercise that challenges you, not necessarily to the point of almost throwing up, but to each his own. This episode of Mudwalkers has been brought to you by my generous supporters over on Patreon. Shout out to Nature Him, Todd, Edward, John S., Joseph, Charlie, Lionheart, Nudist Lifer, Adam M, Edward T, Jay Good, Cyan B, John W, Clifton M, None Here, Marty, Austin S, Martin C, Benjamin M, JLDL, Corky S, Kenneth L, John F, Jeremy H, Richard M, PJH, Tom L, David B, Joe S, Cedric, Chim K, and Dennis R. Guys, thank you so much for all your support on Patreon. You guys are making my content possible. You're keeping my work sustainable. I cannot thank you enough for what you're doing on Patreon. Like I said, you're making this possible. Mudwalkers is set to do big things in 2024, bigger than I've done previously. And that is possible because of Patreon. If you guys would like to see Mudwalkers continue to get bigger and better and make frequent high quality content, by all means, check out the link in the description below, patreon.com/mudwalkers. Check out my link tree as well to find my content on Vimeo. And with that, let's get back to the video. My brother that's big into fitness is also really serious about comedy, which sounds funny, but he takes it seriously. He takes it systematically. And so I told him one day, I envy you. I wish I could be funny. Because it just seems like you effortlessly make people laugh, and I wish I could do that. He said, I couldn't always do that. I said, but it's so easy, it's so effortless when you do it. And he said, I've been practicing. He said the big secret to comedy is you just gotta make jokes, crack jokes. And he said, in the beginning, you will usually flop, and yeah, it's awkward. But you know what? You'll learn from that, and you'll adjust. And then the next time you make a joke, hopefully it's a little bit better. And then you just keep moving. You can't let the flops get you down, man. You got to keep going. You got to keep telling jokes. If you keep telling jokes, you'll figure something out. You'll figure out what works. So I took his advice, and at basically every opportunity, I attempted to crack a joke in conversation, and it ended really awkwardly and uncomfortably in a lot of situations. Not because I was telling dirty jokes or something, but just because when you try to be funny and the punchline is flat and the other person just kind of looks at you like this, it's awkward and it makes it not very fun. But you know what? I had a few wins that year, and that was, I don't even know, it was at least 2 years ago, maybe as many as 5, but I'm also getting old. So maybe it was 10 years ago, who knows? So I've been working on this for several years, and now I can consistently make people laugh in conversation. Sometimes I'll even test myself when I'm having a conversation with someone. I'll think to myself, I wonder if I can make him laugh. Or, I wonder if I can say something that she's gonna find funny. Like, how can I do that in this conversation? And the opportunity presents itself, I'll just slide that comment out there, whoop, just a quick punchline, the other person laughs. I can consistently do that now. Now, I'm not some kind of like professional grade expert comedian or something. I'm not that funny. But I can consistently get people to chuckle in conversation, which is a lot more than I can say, a lot more than I could have said years ago. And the way that I got to this point wasn't by reading a book about comedy and then going, that's how it is, and then boom, expert comedian. No, it was years and years of awkward conversations. It was hard. I did a hard thing for a long time, and I have reaped the benefits. There wasn't some kind of a shortcut that got me to where I could be funny. It was a lot of hard work over a long period of time. So again, doing hard things, it's very rewarding. Not only to me introspectively, but now I can bring a little extra joy to people's lives. Ice baths. If you've never taken an ice bath, go do it. Wim Hof, he's incredible. He has a YouTube channel. He's on Instagram. His name is spelled like this. Yeah. And he's just incredible. He has really taken cold plunging to a huge, amazing level. And it's extremely healthy. You can look up the benefits for yourself. He has podcast episodes and YouTube videos and Instagram stuff talking about all the benefits. Hormones, vitamins, minerals, like all your brain, your heart, all kinds of stuff. It's this great, holistic, systematic greatness that ice, cold water temperatures does to your body. And when I actually have a video on how to get started in cold plunging right here, or on Vimeo, it's in the description below. But When I first started getting into cold plunging, I didn't get into the water for like 10 minutes or something. It was fall or winter or something. I just turned on the cold water, hopped in and counted. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my gosh. And I jumped out of the shower. And then the next week, I did 10 seconds every day. And the week after that, I did something like 20 seconds a day, or 30 seconds. And I've gone up and up and up. And recently, we had a really cold night when I was very sick. And I got in for 5 minutes. Now, granted, getting into actual ice water or an almost frozen river or an actually frozen lake is going to be way different than a cold shower. But a cold shower is a great tool. So getting into cold water is hard. It's hard on your body because it's unpleasant, but then it's also hard on your mind. It's hard on your spirit. It's hard on your brain. But it's like exercising. It's difficult to do, but then you reap benefits and you improve over time. Doing hard things is good for you, and cold plunging is one example of that. This approach has changed me. It's humbled me and given me confidence at the same time. Doing hard things has humbled me and given me more confidence. I can still hear acorns falling out of the trees. Whenever I make mistakes or fall down or run into a brick wall with something, I don't mourn the situation. I try to find a solution. I work at it. I push through because I've pushed through things before. I've come up against judo throws that seemed impossible, and I worked at it and I got through it. When I first got into cold plunging, I could do 5 seconds and no more. Now I can do over 5 minutes. Just loads and loads of hard things I've encountered in my life that I've already gotten through. So when I encounter an obstacle now, my first thought isn't, that's too bad, I'll just do something else. My first thought is, how can I get around this? How can I work through this? What's the solution here? How can I work through it? Not, oh, poor me, it didn't work. If you keep at it, you really can do great things. I wrote out this last part really deliberately, and I'm having a hard time memorizing it, and I worded it in a particular way, so I'm going to read it to you. You'll be rewarded for doing hard things. Life will give you as much as you work for, especially here in America. No, maybe it's not going to look as great as the next guy, but it'll be yours if you have the guts to stand up and take it.